Greetings, fellow film fans. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mercy, and this is the Funny Pajamas YouTube channel. Now, we've got more MCU content on our plate with their new animated series titled What If. Now, it's an anthology series of what if scenarios that were originally supposed to stand up separately, but I do believe they will be working into the whole multiverse that they are trying to set up right now. And listen, before I begin, I want to, if you haven't done so already, why don't you smash that like button, hit that beautiful red subscribe button, become a subscriber to my channel, and don't forget to hit that beautiful bell icon so that you're notified every time I post something new. Now, straight off the bat, I'd like to say I didn't want to go much into spoilers, but I think inevitably we will definitely be going into spoilers. So if you do not see that huge big spoiler sign that is up on the screen right now, beware, there are going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the latest episode, the first episode of the Marvel's What Ifs, go check it out. Save this video for later. Go check it out and then come back and you can have a nice fun discussion. So the first episode we kick off straight off with follows similarly along the line of Captain America, the first Avenger, except the what if question asked is what if Peggy Carter were the one who took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. Now, what I liked about this episode was, okay, I'll tell you straight off, it wasn't the strongest I expected. I was kind of mid on what would happen. But I did enjoy it for what it was. Not so bad that I didn't really, totally, absolutely didn't enjoy it. I'm going to have to watch a few more episodes of this What If series to get a real feel for it. On its own, I felt this episode had its pros and its cons. Now we start off with, a simple one act where Peggy Carter chooses to stay in the room instead of leaving the room during the experiment where the super serum was to be administered to Steve Rogers. And that sets off a whole different course of events that take place and a different branch in the multiverse. So I don't like how they focus not on what if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum. It was a small event, a tiny ripple that caused a huge butterfly effect, like sort of like chaos theory, a huge butterfly effect which led to so many different things being changed. And I will admit that there were a lot of twists and turns in this episode. Despite the large number of trailers that they let out, there were a lot of twists and turns in this episode that I did not see coming. So straight off the bat, we get, they're ready to administer the super soldier serum to Steve when there's an explosion, there's interference from a Hydra agent, and Steve gets shot. And the guy in charge is like, someone step in, step into the contraption and take the serum, and nobody is willing to step forward. Then Agent Carter, she says, okay, chuck it, I'll do it. And she gets in and she receives the super soldier serum, comes out a taller buffer version of herself. Now the top brass are not exactly very happy with this. They wanted army full of super soldier men and they got this one woman and they're just not happy about it. And the guy in charge keeps putting her down. So finally, Peggy is like, I want to help. I know I can help. I want to help in the war effort. So she takes things into her own hands, comes up with a plan, locates where the Tesseract is, and straight away manages to steal the Tesseract from Hydra. Now, Howard Stark uses this Tesseract to create what looks like a version of the Iron Man suit. He creates it and uses it as a battery where Tony Stark used the arc reactor. Howard uses the Tesseract as the core for this suit and he builds it specifically for Steve Rogers. And then we have this really cool montage of, Peggy Carter, who is now Captain Carter, Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers in his Iron Man suit, fighting, against Hydra agents, all to the background of some sweet jazz music. So I like that montage. A lot of very unbelievable. You could not pull it off in a live action without it looking extremely cheesy and extremely, okay, that's definitely not going to happen. It was like a lot of it was entering the realm of Fast and Furious unbelievability realm, almost. But for an animated show, it did work. So they team up and then they go up against all these Hydra agents and all their factions. Meanwhile, Peggy and that is Captain Carter and Steve Rogers hatch a plan to rescue Bucky Barnes, who has been taken captive. Now, in this version, they don't show them experimenting on Bucky Barnes. Instead, Captain Carter goes straight off, finds them all in a cell, rescues them, and they get out. Then they follow them going on different missions, and one of these missions is they decide to attack the train, a train which they believe is carrying the Red Skull. So they want to capture him. Now during this, stuff goes haywire. Unlike in Captain America First Avenger, Bucky does not fall off and die. Instead, it is Steve in his Iron Man suit who stops the train, opens up the hull of the train and sees that it's filled with dynamite, and he gets blown off the rails and falls down the steep cliff with a whole avalanche falling on top of him. So his team, that is Captain Carter and Bucky Barnes and the other soldiers that form their ragtag team, sort of, they think that he's dead, that he's no more. Okay, so they follow up on this, and then Agent Carter wants revenge, and now they have that the German scientists within their control. So she decides to question him, and she finds out Red Skull's, which differ on a certain scale to what originally is there in Captain America, the First Avengers. And so they decide to go off and take down the head of Hydra himself, Red Skull. While they are at it, they go to this castle, and they split up into two groups. Agent Carter going in one direction, Bucky Barnes and his men going in the other direction. Bucky Barnes comes against across the suit, the Iron Man suit that Steve was wearing, and Steve is chained up on the ground on the floor. And then Steve is like, you juice up that suit and I'll use it and we can help Peggy. Meanwhile, Red Skull has opened up a portal, and through it he's bringing out this huge monster with tentacles, this octopusy thingy. And now Peggy Carter has got to fight this. So she's got her sword, and she manages to get a sword from God knows where. It's a sword and her shield, and she's just hacking off pieces. Steve Rogers in his suit joins in, but he doesn't have enough battery for it to last long. And in the last bit attempt to save everyone, Agent Carter, that is Captain Carter, pushes the manhandles the creature and tries to push it back through the portal. And Steve Rogers is like, don't go, we still have that dance you promised me. And this is what I like. They in the relationship between Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers, they kept it consistent with what it was in the original movie. Mainly, they mirrored a lot of the dialogue, particularly along this dance. And she's, yes, we will have our last dance. And she sort of sacrifices herself going through the portal while pushing the creature, and the portal breaks down. Then Steve's heartbroken and stuff, and then they skip to 70 years in the future, where Nick Fury and Hawkeye are standing before a portal being opened with the Tesseract, and out comes bits and pieces of the tentacles and stuff, and covered in goo and all that, still with the sword and the shield, having not aged a day, comes out Captain Carter. And they end it with that. Now that's the basic plot of what happened. Now I'm going to go into detail on what I liked and did not like about it. Now straight off the bat, most of the characters, the recurring characters which come, they stayed true to the characters in which we have seen in the MCU. Also, another thing to note, and particularly I would say the relationship between Peggy and Steve, despite the fact that Steve's still a 5-foot tall midget, Peggy, despite being the super soldier she is now, she still likes him for him. She sees the man inside, the guy with the big heart, the noble guy, and she still likes him for him. So I thought they maintained that relationship really well. I mean, she never liked him just because he became buff and a super soldier and stuff. She likes him for the person he is inside. As such, they maintain the characters, recurring characters remain true to their role, particularly Peggy Carter, even Dominic Cooper's Howard Stark. They all made Steve Rogers was very much the same Steve Rogers we get in the MCU. Same with Bucky Barnes. Now, straight off the bat, I'd like to say the animation style was not the strongest for me. I had some issues with the animation style. It's going to get a little getting used to. Straight off the bat, I thought this animation style suited action sequences far better than it did the conversational, emotional moments, particularly with the emotions on the face. I thought this particular animation style really suited the action sequences, and I want to see how it goes further ahead, but right now that's my stance on this matter. Also, this I'm getting straight off from this episode, I can say this is going to mainly be only a lot of the stuff is going to be relevant and understandable to basic hardcore MCU fans, of people who have basically watched all the movies as such. Particularly for this first episode, it was rooted very much on the original Captain America plot points, differing in many places. Now, I had a problem with that. The Captain America First Avengers was a full movie in itself, almost 1.5 to 2 hours long movie. I don't know exactly how long it was, but it was a full contained movie. And this was a 30-minute or so episode, and they crammed that entire thing into that. And I felt if they had given it an extra maybe 10 or 15 minutes more, it could have given the story a bit more time to breathe. It could have adjusted the pacing properly, and I felt it would have been better had they given a few more time to work on certain plot points. As such, I felt it was a bit clunky and the pacing was off. And talking about the animation, I also would like to say there's a reason there are actors and voice actors, and though the nostalgia of a lot of the original actors coming in to reprise their roles, voicing their characters, I did feel some of them were a bit weak for it. I thought Jeffrey Wright was inspired casting as the Watcher. I thought he did really very well. Hayley Atwell also as Peggy Carter was really good. You could see she was having real fun with it. I thought she did a good job too. On the weaker side, I will say Sebastian Stan felt a bit lacking. I felt like he was pretty much, it felt like he was bored throughout the whole, the whole voicing thing. And even Dominic Cooper's acting was not that good, but it was definitely on a better level than Sebastian Stan. So maybe they should find the perfect balance between getting proper voice actors as opposed to always going for the original actors. Maybe that could have helped, but then again there's the nostalgia feel. People do come wanting to hear their favorite actors, but I felt in certain cases, certain characters, this decision sort of held it back. I will straight off say this was not a very strong episode for me. I enjoyed what I got, but being a hardcore MCU fan, I picked up on the jokes, on the the things that they were following and stuff. I could understand the context of a lot of things. But if you're straight off new to the MCU, or if you haven't watched all the movies, particularly Captain America, the first Avenger in this case, you are not going to understand quite a few things. So that's the only that's the only negative point I would say about this, and I have mentioned the others. On the whole, a solid first episode, a bit clunky, a bit unpaced story-wise. I want to see how they go further ahead in the coming episodes. As such, I will not be ranking these episodes, or I will not be scoring these episodes, because I want to see how this What If series is as a whole. On the whole, I enjoyed it. Not the best thing Marvel has thrown at me. A bit cheesy at times, definitely. I felt at times they didn't know whether they were aiming for an adult audience or a more younger kids audience. I felt a bit, it's going to take them some time to find their footing. I do hope the next few episodes pick up. That's all I have for you right now. Listen, if you want to contact me, you can hit me up on Twitter simply at Mercy_D, on Instagram at Mercy_SD. Check out my Funny Pajamas page simply at Funny Pajamas. I've put up some links down in the description down below, so hit me up. You can always contact me on email simply at mercy@funny-pajamas.com. Pajamas with a Y. Don't forget to check out my webpage, that is at www.funny-pajamas.com. I put up all sorts of stuff. I haven't put up some stuff of late, but I do plan to get back into the grind of blogging. So do check it out. I have some interesting stuff there. I hope you enjoyed. Hit me in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this first episode of the What If series. Did it start off strong for you? Are you kind of enjoying it? Let me know. For me, I think I'm going to have to watch a few more episodes to get a feel of where this is going, how this is going to be. Not so, for a first episode, solid. Had its pros, had its cons. But on the whole, if you're an MCU fan, I definitely suggest you give it a watch. That's all I have for you right now. So I'm going to sign out by saying bye. This is Mercy signing out. Have a good one, everyone.